Hi, this is Samir from Minneapolis, and today I'm going to talk to you about the different amplifier envelopes that are present in an amplifier using Ableton Live 9. Now, for the synthesizer, I do not have a synthesizer plugin, but I have used an instrument which is present in Ableton Live 9 called Simpler, which is basically a sampler and which can be designed to act as a synthesizer. So here instead of oscillator, I've just dropped down a sample file into it and narrowed it down to the tiniest wave that we have, the sine similar to a sine wave, and I'll be using it as a signal. Now, before going to the different types of amplitude envelopes, I'd like to talk briefly about what it is. So, amplitude envelope is basically the set path that is followed by a voltage control amplifier, a VCA, to vary the volume over time or the timbre whenever a key is pressed. Whenever the key is pressed, the path is defined by four parameters, and the four parameters are attack, decay, sustain, and release, and they define kind of the shape of the envelope. Attack is the time it takes to go to the full value or whenever key is pressed. Decay is when the value comes down from the full value to the sustain level, and sustain level is the level at which the sound is sustained or the volume is sustained. And release time is whenever we release the key and the sound goes down to zero from the sustain level. Next, I'm going to show you and explain you about five types of amplitude envelopes. I'll start with the switch envelope. This is also called the organ envelope because whenever you press the organ key, the sound goes up, and when you release it, suddenly goes down. So here you can see that the attack time is 0 and decay time it's not there. The sustain level is all the way up, that is 100%, and release time is 0, so it goes up, and when you release the key, it goes down. Coming to the synth here, so I have these four parameters. For switch, I'll keep the sustain level at full level, and now you will hear how it sounds. So whenever I release, it goes down suddenly. The second one is the percussive, or this is a sound that emulates striking a drum or plucking a string. So here you can see in the diagram, the attack time is 0, and decay time and the release time are almost same, and there is no sustain. So to emphasize here, the release time is whenever you release the key. So while the decay is happening and you release the key, it continues the decay in a very smooth way. So it gives you a plucking sound as the sound goes up and it slowly goes down. Here in the synth, to reproduce it, I'll set the decay time as 600 milliseconds, sustain as 0, and release also equivalent to the decay time, that is 600 millisecond. And now we'll hear how it sounds. Third one is the damped percussive. This is similar to the percussive envelope, but at the end it's damped a bit and similar to a piano, as a piano has a damper. Similarly here, the decay goes down, but there is no release, so it damps down suddenly whenever the button is released. So here you can see the attack is 0, decay time is 600 milliseconds, there is no sustain, and the release is 0. Here in the synth, to replicate the percussive synth, I'll just decrease the release time to 0 or 1 millisecond, and you can see how it sounds. So at the end you can see that the sound is damped. Fourth one is the sustaining envelope, and this is similar to blowing sound for the wind instruments or bowing sound in the violin instrument. So initially we have a very small attack time, and there is a very small decay time. There is a long sustain time, and the release time is somewhat similar to the decay time. Coming to the synth here, to set the sustaining envelope, I'll set the attack as 1.5 milliseconds. The decay time very low, that is 10 milliseconds. the sustain time is high, that is somewhere around 5 maybe, and the release time is also 10 milliseconds. And now you can hear how it sounds for the wind instruments or the violin. The fifth and final envelope is the quirk envelope, and this is a kind of a weird envelope because it depends on how long you press the key. If you press the key for a short while, that duration lasts for long, the sound lasts longer, and if you press the key for a long time, it'll damp out quickly. I can show you in the synthesizer how it functions. So here you can see that attack time is 0, the decay is 200 milliseconds, sustain there is no sustain, and release is a longer time than the decay time. Back to the synth to show you the quirk envelope. I'll set the attack value as 0, the decay time somewhere around 600 milliseconds, and sustain down to 0, and release time somewhere here to show you clearly. Now, if I press the key for a long time, you'll see that it behaves like a percussive envelope. Now, if I just hit the key and release it instantly, now it'll last longer. This is happening because the sound first decays, and the time I release, the release time starts over and it slowly releases. So that's it from me for the amplifier envelopes. Thanks for listening.